This conference will now be recorded.
All right, looks like everybody's getting logged in there. Very good. Is everybody here?
I think so.
We're here.
Okay, great. Well, today we're going to get into the purchasing and receiving part of RFMS and working with those things in the inventory module. But first, do you have any questions over what you've been practicing on so far with entering the quotes and kicking those over to order entry and working with the orders?
None for me. Did we figure out that glitch that we had? Okay,
I think so. Yeah, no, it's pretty simple.
I think we're good.
Okay, great. Well, let's go in and start talking about our purchasing today. I'm actually going to start an order entry and just make sure we have a couple things to work with over there.
How do we make that go away? Is that it?
Go to the left a little bit, that little down arrow right next to it. There you go. There should be 2 quotes in there from this morning that
Okay.
has a variety of stuff in there that we should get.
Great. Okay, and those are already on order. Okay, good. Let's check this one here. And those are in GenPO. Perfect. All right. So we're going to go to the inventory module. All of our purchasing and receiving takes place in inventory. And so in here, we're going to go to the purchase order screen. So it's right here into the file menu. And then the receiving also takes place in here underneath the receiving costing. Okay, so we're going to be looking at purchasing and receiving here. So when we go in here, I wanted to show you today the centralized purchasing. We looked at the express PO generation inside the customer orders. But here we have a way to do centralized purchasing where you can see everything that is in GenPO status and be able to manage all those things from one screen. And so that is here with this icon that says Auto PO. We call this the to buy screen, which means it's things we need to buy, basically. And so anything that's on your customer orders that is in a GenPO status will show up in this screen. And in this screen, you can sort by supplier just by clicking on the header, or you can sort by the style name. You can sort by the order number. And so there might be different times where you'll want to sort those in different ways to work with the information here. Right. And so there's a couple other things we can do in this screen as well that I'd like to show at the same time. So let me do this before we jump in here, is I want to go and look at the stock inventory here. And I'm going to put some stock inventory in GenPO as well, because there's some really helpful tools in that screen that can help us with that also. So we're not having stock inventory in here yet. All right. So let's put some in there. Thought we had put some pad in there, but I guess not. All right, let's do some black diamond 3/8 from all tile.
Yeah,
Okay, so we've got some stock pad of 50 rolls, and I'm going to go to one of these jobs, and I'm just going to put some of that stock pad on there and put it in GenPO so you can see what I want to show you here.
What he did, he added a line to it.
Yeah.
So let's go back to our purchase order screen here and talk about this different scenarios you'll have here. So we have the 4 lines here from the one job from Imser Tile that we're going to order. Then we have this line here from All Tile that we have in stock. Okay. So when we have something in stock, the system is going to recognize that, and it's going to post this little green roll icon beside there. And the key to this really working is that the line on the customer order was selected from the product list, and the inventory that we have was also selected from the product list when the purchase order was issued, because the product record is the thing that links the two together and makes everything recognized as a match. And so when we see that green roll, we know that we have matched inventory. And so we assign that inventory from this screen, and this way we technically buy it from ourselves, so to speak, instead of buying it from the vendor, because we've already bought it. Right, so let's go to the green roll here at the top of the screen. This will assign the inventory to that order line. This brings up a window where you can see the matched inventory. And so here are the 50 rolls we have in stock. Here are the 2 rolls that are needed for that customer's order. We're going to take 2 of the 50 and apply them to the customer order. So in this screen, we're going to tag the record here. We're going to click the Done button. That's going to give us a window to confirm that on that customer order, we're going to reserve 2 out of these 50 that are available. And then we're going to confirm that selection. And then that particular item then drops off of our to buy list. If we were to go back to the job itself and take a look at the lines on that job, we'll now see that those 2 rolls are reserved because we assigned the stock to that.
Hey, Bruce, can I interrupt right there?
Yeah.
What tool did you click on just to get to the screen you're on right now?
I clicked the View Lines icon, and so that's this folder at the top of the screen, and it allows you to just view the contents of the order without actually opening the order up.
Okay, good.
That's
Yeah.
useful if somebody
Yeah.
has it open and you can't get it open.
Or
Keeps you from bouncing around.
The system will not allow 2 people to open the same order at the same time as far as opening it. And so, like if Greg's in the order and Paula wants to look in the order, Paula will get a lockout message that tells her that somebody else is in the order, and she won't be able to go in until Greg gets out. But if you use this tool here, the View Lines, you're able to just look at that at any time, regardless if anyone.
is that just view, or you can add and change and do all that?
Yeah, this one is view only.
Okay, all right.
So here
It does
no-
take you out of the inventory module and into order entry.
What was the question? Sorry, I didn't hear it quite all.
By doing that, it takes you out of the inventory module.
No, not at all. So I was in the inventory module, and I assigned the inventory. And then if you notice down at the bottom of the screen, all the modules are open and they have an icon down there, right? So to go back and forth from inventory to order entry, I simply clicked on the order entry tab or the icon at the bottom of the screen, and that is what takes me between inventory and order entry.
Okay.
And once I was in order entry, then I clicked the View Lines to view that order.
Okay.
All right.
All right, good question. All right, so I just wanted to show you, the reason I came over here was to show you that line status changes to reserved once you assign inventory to it. And then it, of course, disappears from the to buy list because it's no longer in PO status. All right, so let's talk about these purchases here that we need to do from IMS or Tile. Now in this screen, this is where the purchaser is going to spend a lot of their time, because as soon as something goes in Gen PO, it's going to come here. And there are some key pieces of information in this screen that are needful. So one of those key pieces, of course, is not only the supplier and the style and quantity information, but also the dates over here. So we've got the estimated install date, and I'm going to flip back and forth to the order to show this. So in order entry, if we look at that order, we have the estimated install date is 3/30 of 19. That information then shows up here in our purchasing screen so that our purchaser knows when that job is supposed to be installed. And that can help with the timing of the purchasing so that we don't get things in too far in advance, and also hopefully that we don't get things in too late. Right? We also can see the measure date, and then we can also see the line estimated delivery date. Now these line estimated delivery dates, they can be filled in on the order screen itself, or they will automatically fill in whenever we schedule the job in Schedule Pro. And so it's another just key piece of information for the purchaser as to when each individual line is going to be going out. And so it's always important to look at those dates, right? Another thing we have here is the line notes off the line, and that's this little yellow icon over here. So these are the line notes that were entered on the customer order, and the purchaser should be looking at these notes. And so there's a note icon at the top of the screen, and this will allow the purchaser to see the notes. Now they may or may not pertain to purchasing, but it's a good idea to read them just in case. So if you have notes that you want to pass along to purchasing, the line note is a great place to put those. All right,
Like
so
for
let's
instance, Bruce, would that be, so sometimes we get selections far in advance, and we don't have an estimated installation date yet. And I guess we could technically estimate one. So let's say we want to go ahead and put the order in, and we want to get it on order because, it may take a long time to get in. We want to make sure that inventory is ours at our supplier. So we could put in that note right there where the purchaser would see it to order this and keep on will call or something of that nature.
Right, exactly right. And then, even if you don't have a date, this can be left blank, or you can put in, a lot of our clients will have like a key code type of a date. Like if I saw this and the estimated install date at some clients, if it was 2/22/22, then I would know that, yes, the order's been entered, but we're not sure when the install is going to take place. And so, that would just clue me in that, hey, I need to read the note and really see what's going on with that particular thing. Other clients will use a Christmas date, for the same purpose. It just kind of depends on how you want to structure that internally. Okay. All right, so let's talk about ordering these things. So I've got the 3 lines for the Cabo, same color, and then I've got the bullnose here. So I'm going to do this bullnose line first, because in here you can order a single line, or you can order multiple lines at the same time. All right, so let's start with this single line here of the Cabo. So we're going to tag that, and likewise we would tag any other lines that we wanted to order. And we're going to click Done here. That's going to bring up this screen, and this is the same informational screen that we encountered when we were doing the POs in the order last time. And so here we have to set our purchase order parameters, if you will. So it's going to be a special order. We can select what we want to use as the side mark. All right, so let's take a look at that job. So we've got a sold to and a shipped to. We don't have a job number. We do have an address. So any of those things we can use as the side mark on the PO. All right, let's use the ship to name. We want to assign that to the customer order lines, of course. If we want to transfer that line note onto the purchase order, then we can check the box here. If we want to transfer that line note onto the inventory record, we would check that box there. And then if this line on the order has a ship to specified, then we can import that ship to information from the customer order. And then as a kind of a sub question to that, we have the 4 options as to which ship to import. So is it on the order line? Is it on the store ship to, the customer ship to? We have all those options to import onto our purchase order.
Hey, Bruce, that email that I sent you yesterday that had the purchase order attached to it, there was some lines highlighted in that, and that's what we're trying to get to show up on the purchase order. So to set that up as close to that as possible, what options would we need to set?
Yeah, so I see the highlighted line for the carton count, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I see the second line has the style and color highlighted, the side mark, the quantity, and the price or the cost.
Yeah, unit. Is
Yep.
there a way to get into 2 decimal points?
No, it's going to always go to 4.
Okay. Yeah, so those are the items that I would like to only see on the purchase order.
Oh, well, we'll get to there. We'll get there in a minute. We talk about purchase order printing, okay?
Okay.
And I'll show you what options are or are not available. All right, so we'll make our selections there. That's going to kick that line over to the next screen and put it in a status of to be ordered. And now to turn this to open, we do have to go into it. So double click in it here. And we have to complete a couple pieces of information. Now the product info is going to be here down the left. The PO number is going to be automatic based on the customer order and the line number. The cost is going to come in from the product record. Quantity is going to come in from your order. And then here, the ordered by, again, is going to come in from order entry. This can be changed if need be. But then this taken by field is the field that actually converts this to the status of open. And so taken by is going to be whoever or however we communicated the PO to Imser. So if we called on the phone and we talked to Joe, we put Joe's name in there, right? And then we have the dates. These are the same dates we saw last time around. And so let's just put a promise date in there. Let's say Joe says we're going to get it next Thursday. And then here we'd put the reference number Joe gives us. On this, you can also document freight information if necessary. You can use the little magnifying glass here to look at this line on the customer's order. And then you can also add additional notes here with the note, or you can also specify a ship to here with the little truck. Hit OK, and that's going to convert that to open. And so now let's go and print it. So we would tag it here in the screen for printing. We'd use the printer. And this is where you're going to make those selections as to what prints and what doesn't print on the PO. It's all these check boxes. Okay. So we've, excuse me, we can have things like the private style name and color if those are different. We can have the SKU number and the reference number. I like to always have the reference on there. SKU helps, I think. Barcode can be put on there for receiving purposes. The line notes, the sales rep name, then the line total for the individual line. You can also have a grand total on there for the PO. You can print builder information, requested die lot, unit cost, the install date, as well as these other information. Now the package info, like on that line you highlighted that says there's 15.52 square foot per carton, that's called the packaging info. Okay. The side mark prints on there automatically, and so there's no checkbox for that. The amount ordered or the quantity, that prints on there automatically. The cost, that's the unit cost, and again, that's always going to be 4 decimals. And then you can also have other things on there like the date and the time, the person who ordered it. And so, you print a few for, for practice purposes, and you kind of work with these checkboxes and decide which information you want on the PO and which information you don't need on the PO. Okay. You can also email a purchase order to the supplier from here. And you can also pick or bring in rather the supplier's email address if you have it set up on the record in the supplier list. And when you email it, it gives you an opportunity here to name the PDF that it will attach to the email. Okay. All right, so let's print that PO.
So you would just type email in the taken by line. If that's
Yeah, right. Right. Okay, so this one here, I had several boxes checked. And so all of this information that prints in the area on the PO is ultimately controlled by those check boxes, except for the primary information like this first line. That's the primary information. The unit price, that's an option on the checkbox. Barcode's an option. The line total's an option. The order total's an option. The SKU, the sales rep, those are options. There's your packaging info. There was none on that one. Okay, so did that answer some of those questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we go back to the to buy list?
Yes. Yeah, we're going to here in a second. And then if we want to print again, it will leave that line tagged. If we say no, it's going to untag it, and then we can go forward with the next thing. Now, from here, after you've done one PO, if you're ready to purchase more, what you'll do is just hit the auto PO button again, and that'll just take you right back into that screen minus, what you just ordered.
Okay, so why wouldn't we have printed all those insert tiles from the same job on the same PO?
Well, we're going to. I wanted to show you that single line method, and I'm going to show you the multiple line method.
Okay, good deal.
Okay. So now we've got 3 different lines on the same order, right? And so all that can go on one PO. And there's even another option here, like these are split up by the areas probably, because I know that first one was room 1, room 2, yeah. So there's also a way we can actually take these and combine them to a single quantity on the purchase order and just make one line out of the PO.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Does that manipulate the original ticket the salesperson wrote up?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So I'll show you. I really need to have this order duplicated. Is this order in as a quote also? Or I could just create another order with it? Because I'd like to show you both ways.
It should be an exported quote, yes.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Because I'd really like to show you both options here. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to copy that. Just make another one just like it, and then export that. That way we can run through both those scenarios. Perfect. All right, so here we go. So let's deal with that first one, and we'll do these as they are. And then the second time through, we'll combine them onto one PO line, all right? So in this case here, we have multiples for the same supplier. You can go in and tag as many as you want. I could theoretically tag all the inserts at one time and process them together if I wanted to do that also. But let's just take this one. So we're going to tag those 3. hit the done. We pass through the same window here.
Hold on, question.
Okay.
So you can actually generate, you can tag every IMSR thing, even if they're different CG numbers and different,
Yep.
and send it all one shot?
Yep.
Gotcha. That's all.
Okay. So as many as you tagged are going to show up here as to be ordered. And so here, just want to mention also, if you have e-commerce set up, this little red phone or little phone down here will be red. And if you have the set up to send purchase orders to the supplier, you can click that phone and it will just send all three of those lines to the supplier electronically because they're all the same order. And so they would all say status of sent EC. Okay, so that's the most efficient way to order is by e-commerce. For the non-e-commerce, we're going to go here and we're going to hit this little icon with two pencils.
Can you hold on for a second till Dean gets back?
Yeah.
He had to take that call.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Bruce, let's take this time I want to ask you one quick question while Dean's on that call.
Sure.
I'm going. I got to go to Jack school.
Okay. Okay. I guess he's got a family emergency.
Oh, okay.
Well, Richie stepped out, so let's.
Yeah, real quick, let me ask you this while they stepped out for a second.
Okay.
That sounds serious.
Yeah.
All right. The purchase order that I had sent you yesterday, if you look on there, on that second line, right down below where it says there's one piece per carton, this PO is for 50 cartons.
Yes.
It didn't show up above that line, and Dean was asking me about that to try to figure out why, if that's maybe a glitch or if that's something.
Printer set up, or
I mean, it's not a huge deal, but it kind of makes our OCD go a little crazy that it's not above that line.
Okay, sure. Let's take a look at it here. So that one there.
he had to run to pick up his son at school.
Let's go check out that product.
We got something bad happening.
Buying and selling one.
That crazy woman that they fired at Marines Works is threatening Jack's life.
Uh-oh, okay. So this lady at where his wife works, she's an accountant. She works as an accountant for a barge line, and she's in charge of the county department. And this lady brought EO charges against her. And they did an investigation, found that the wife did nothing wrong, and they fired the lady. Now that lady was threatening her son's life.
What did Maureen have to do with that?
She was that lady's boss. That's the wrong person there.
Yeah, Dean probably don't mess around.
He's just finding out why this printed off line there. So,
Yeah, you see this right here, for whatever reason, see how there's that line right there? That's supposed to be up here. Not really a huge deal, but it's kind of.
well, those are important lines.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that prints below the line on just that one. It seems like it prints above the line on the others.
Yeah.
It might just be that one, for whatever reason, is a glitch in the system. I was just kind of curious about it.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay. All right, I think we're back in order where we can start now.
Okay. So let me bring up that screen where we had the three lines from IMSR. Here we go. Okay, so we are going to process these three lines together at the same time. We're going to use the double pencil icon. This is called a batch tag icon. And what it does is it takes the highlighted PO number and posts that here in the top of this window. And it allows us to edit this information on all three of those lines at the same time. So let's say we emailed this, and maybe we emailed it and we don't even know a promise date yet, but we would like it to ship on the 19th. So we're going to go ahead and put that in as the request. And then we'd like to have it on the 21st. Okay. We don't have a reference number yet. The side mark will fill in according to whatever we selected in that previous window for the side mark selector. So we'll leave that blank. And then here we can either change all the PO lines under this number 900002, or we can change the PO lines that come from the same supplier under that CG number, and or the PO lines that are the same product code as the selected, which means the highlighted, right? So the same supplier in this case would be EMSR, same product code in this case would be 5. So these are the options we have with this batch edit of the PO. All right, so we can leave both these checked because they're the same supplier, same product code. All right, so we're going to hit OK. That's going to change all three of those to open. So let's go find them here. Actually, I'll just type it in here. 2. And so there are those 3 lines we just ordered. You can see they're all 3 open now. And here at the bottom, you'll notice the side mark carried through, the taken by carried through, and then the promise date is not filled in because we didn't fill that in, right? But then in this case, we can go ahead and tag all 3 of those and print them on a single document. So we tag them, print them, and the PO will fit 3 to 4 lines on the page depending on how many of those options we had checked.
So IMSR didn't get that as a combined, are all 3 of those lines the same product?
Yeah, but he didn't do that yet.
Of course they did.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they got it as 3 separate lines in this scenario.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And how did you get to that screen? You had to type in that purchase order number?
Yeah, so I was just in the purchase order screen. And in the purchase order screen, I just typed the order number in the search bar.
You can also type in, like, you can search for anything, like the side mark and.
Yeah. Side mark, product name.
If it's been sent by an email, and at the end of the day, when you're done with all your purchasing, could you just put that number sign so you can see all the purchase orders that are open to print them
Well,
all?
what I would actually use the binoculars, and I would go to open by date.
Okay, so that'll give you just the open POs you did today.
Right.
Okay.
And open means they've been sent, they've been ordered.
So what open means, that's a really good question. What open means is that the taken by field has something in it. Okay, that's what the system refers to as open, is that there is something in this field. If there's nothing in that field, it'll say to be ordered. If there's something in there, it'll say open. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about, let's say we get a confirmation back on these, and we need to go in and fill in the reference number and the promise date, right? So let's untag them here. Now I can come back and look up my PO and select any one of those lines, use the batch tag icon once again, and go in, and now I can fill in the promise date and the reference number. Make my selector here once again, and that will go and fill in that information on all 3 of those lines.
So, okay, so we have a different guy that does that. So all he would do is go to the purchase order screen, type in the PO number, and that would pop up, and he could do that.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Can we see it? Can I see it again one more time on another line? Just
Sure. Actually, I'll just do it again on this one. So I've highlighted any of the 3 lines.
right.
I'm going to hit the 2 pencils here. Let's say
Okay.
they changed the promise date on us, and now it's going to be 2/28. So I'll just go ahead and change that. Make my selection here. Very important that we make the selection here. And then hit OK. And that's going to update that information on all 3 of them.
Okay.
So who does that?
Don.
Don would get the confirmations back and update the
And
purchase
update the
orders?
purchase orders.
Okay.
All right, good. Let's go back now. Like this one here, we did 3 lines, same product, 3 different quantities on 3 lines on the PO. Let's go back and do one where we combine those to a single quantity for a single line. Okay, so we're going to go back to the auto PO screen. And now we've got these 3 here. So I'm going to tag them. And this little icon here will combine those onto a stock purchase order. Okay, so I'm going to click that. And again, you have to precede it by tagging. Okay, so it's going to take the material on those lines onto a stock PO. Notice what it's telling us. The order line status will be changed to none, right? So right now the order lines are in Gen PO. It's going to change them to none, and then after we create the PO, we're going to reconnect them to the order lines, okay? So the customer order will remain as it is, but the PO will be for a single line. Okay, all right, so now we're going to flip these over to create the PO, and it's going to be a stock PO. And that brings it over here to the to be ordered as one single quantity. Okay, so it took all 3 and it combined them. You put them on a stock PO number. But here, before we even go any further, we're going to reassign to the order lines using this letter A up here. Okay, so here are the 3 lines that we combined on the customer's order. And so we're going to assign the first line there. And then we do have to visit this for each line, but it just takes a couple minutes to go through and click through that. And so now we've reattached those 3 lines to the customer order. But for the purchasing sake, we're ordering one larger quantity, which a lot of times might get us a better cost or, might get us a better freight deal. And we're able to consolidate that. And then at that point, we'd go ahead and fill in, the rest of our information.
So let's say you have to fax this. So you
Yep.
type fax and that taken. How
Sure.
do you print that?
So you print it the same way we print any other PO. You tag it and print it.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the customer order and let's take a look at this. So let's look at the first one where we did the 3 lines independently. So they're now all on order with that promise date of 2/28. If we wanted to go look at the PO, we can view the PO here. We can see the information there, including the reference number. And so let's go and look at the other one where we combined the 3 lines. Okay, so did you see that lock? We're still in that screen in inventory, so we get the lock. So we can still view the lines here. And we have the 3 lines on order here. This one we haven't got the confirmation back yet, so there's no promise date. But as you can see, the customer order stays the same either way.
Okay.
So that can be handy for consolidating your purchase orders there. All right, let's go back to auto PO screen. And we've got the one thing left to order here, just a single PO line. So let's tag that, click done, and go ahead and get that ordered as well.
So that was on the same job as the 3 lines, correct?
It was.
So there's no way to combine those 3 lines and put that on the same PO?
Yeah, you can. I missed clicking a box there to flip it back to a special order. So let me
Okay.
just fix that real quick here. That was on this one here. Set that back to GenPO. Set that one back to GenPO. I think it was actually this one.
Can you set all 3 of them back to GenPO and show me how to combine the 3 lines onto a stock PO again and add that Cabo Shore bullnose
Sure.
to one
Here,
PO?
here in the customer order, we have to, well, so there's a couple of ways, but if they're already on order, you have to double click and you have to change them to GenPO.
Right.
If they were in none status, you could use the adjust status button and change them from none to GenPO. Okay, so here they all are. Now, green rolls because we already have POs in the system that we have disconnected, and so it thinks that there's stock available, but we're going to process these as if there weren't.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the 1, 2, 3 lines there, and 1 line of the bullnose. We're just going to tag all the ones we want to combine. We actually can't combine that one just yet, but we can combine the ones that are the same material with our combine button here. Okay, and then we can also tag this one to go over to the next screen of to be ordered. And so here we'll flag them as stock versus special order in this scenario.
I don't understand why we're doing it as stock.
That's going to bring them over here. And here we'd want to reassign now to the customer order lines. So there's our 3 lines. Go and get those taken care of.
Yeah.
And then let's go ahead and assign the bullnose as well, since we just included them on the same stock PO. All right, it's not finding that one. Okay, so we'll deal with that one here in a second. But here, this way you can have them on the same stock PO in that scenario. And then you would just simply, fill in your information, get them tagged, and then they'll both print on that same stock PO.
Yep. So I think it does it that way to differentiate between line items, doing each line item as is ordering a box of bulk. So they have to be able to, when they combine it, they have to separate that from the line item ones to being able to bulk it up. Does that make sense?
That's so convenient in your speeding.
Yeah, and so then what it does is when you bulk it up like that vendor doesn't have to, even if they're electronic e-commerce, then it probably doesn't matter because it's just going to grab it, right? But when he receives it in, he can go, okay, I should have 20 boxes, not 2 boxes here, 3 boxes here. Yeah. So that'll speed that process up. Now, if the vendor has to do it manually, then they have to manually calculate that.
It's easier for them.
Yeah.
Another thing it helps with is if you get, say you get cost breaks if you buy a pallet versus single boxes, right? If you do it this way, you're going to pick up those cost breaks.
So the question, Bruce, is why does the RFMS make you turn that into a stock PO instead of a PO just associated to that ticket?
It's just because that when you combine those lines, you're kind of breaking the direct connection between the order line and the PO line, and you're creating a PO line that doesn't match any specific order line.
Yeah, but when we receive it, it goes towards that job, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Because you allocated the stock already.
And it will go towards the job because we use that A button to reattach it to those order lines after we created the stock line.
That's not dissimilar to, hey, I ordered 100 rows of carpet pad. It's not here yet, but I'm already assigning jobs to that.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Okay. All right. So this one here was interesting. We hit the A and it didn't find that particular product.
Right.
So I can help it out a little bit here. So it's still not finding it. So let's go and let's search. If it will let us do that. Okay. That's not going to work. So let's go back here to the order itself. And well, it already shows it on order. Let's see.
It was on the PO.
It's already connected. Yeah, it already connected itself. Good.
Okay.
It's already linked. So we actually didn't have to go back and relink that one. It was just automatically linked itself. Good. All right, and then you'll just continue going back to the Gen PO screen, as many times as you need to. Now, most purchasers will probably visit this screen at least twice a day, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and then other times throughout the day as convenient, right? Or if they get a message that, hey, there's a hot order that was just entered, we need to order it. But they always want to be mindful of this screen and, of course, be familiar with what's in this screen, what's awaiting to be ordered. Okay. Now, they can also do a search in here. You can search by individual customer order number, or you can search by installation date, or you search by supplier or by product as well. All right, once we're done purchasing, then we're going to jump out of this screen. And then we're going to talk about ordering stock. So for ordering stock, you're just going to be in the purchase order screen, and you're going to click the green plus. And it's going to ask you, what are we doing here? And so we're going to do a stock PO. The system will automatically number these. For some reason, the system starts at number 19 for the very first one and then just goes up from there, and they'll continue to increase in sequence number. And they will have line numbers just like your customer orders have line numbers. You have your date, you'll have your store selector, and then the product code selector. Now, when you're ordering, it's always going to default to product code 1. That's just the way it works. So this form by default is set up for rolls. If you want to order items, you need to hit the F8 and pick any item code. And if you'll watch, it will actually change the form for items. Okay, so it's a roll form or it's an item form. Let's start with the rolls first here. And the best thing to do is to come down on the rolls here to the private style and hit the F8. Let the system fill all this information in for you instead of having to fill in every field. So we're going to go to our product list, and we're going to find a carpet product. Okay, I'm not sure.
Write it out.
Write it out. Okay, thanks. All right, so there's write it out. And here's our colors. So just like with a product selection and order entry, this works the same way. That fills in the side on the left-hand side there. Then you're going to come over to the right-hand side and fill in your length. Maybe it's a 12 by 150. The system knows, based on the way the product is set up, if it's a roll or a cut. And then the cost, it will pull accordingly. So if it was a roll, it'd pull the roll cost. If it was a cut, it'd pull the cut cost. And then it's going to calculate your square yardage. You're going to come down, you're going to fill in who ordered it. You're going to fill in taken by, just like on the other POs. You're going to fill in your promise dates, reference number. And then the side mark and comments is at your discretion. You know, if you want to side mark it stock, you can, or if you want to leave it blank, you can. Doesn't really matter. The rest of this form is just like the other PO or the previous PO form we looked at as far as the other information in there.
Where do you change the ship to location? Is that on the PO itself?
On that little green truck down here at the bottom.
Okay, will you show me how to do that?
Yeah, just click the truck and you can either type in the ship to information in this field or you can import it from.
So yeah, it's store. Okay, got it.
Okay. That'll turn the little truck red and that'll print on your PO.
Okay.
What that's going to do is going to show the PO line here. And then, so that was a roll. Let's do an item, right? So if I want to add a line.
Question on that, roll.
Yeah.
Like for instance, the reason I wanted to write it out is that is when we stock and we order it in one color and mass quantities of rolls. Can you say 10 rolls?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm going to show you that here.
On it?
Yep. So if you're using the same PO number, you can add lines to the PO. So let's add a line to the PO. And we can either add a new line, which would be line 2, or we can duplicate the highlighted line, the current line. So to answer your question, you can duplicate the current line as many times as you wish. You want 20 rolls, you can duplicate it 19 times, and it will give you 19 more lines of the exact same thing. Okay, and that way it's all set up for when it comes in, then we can do roll by roll receiving. Let's say we want to add a item. Let's say we're going to get some pad on this PO also. So again, we'd use the plus line. This time though, we won't duplicate, we'll add. And we're going to change the form. This is where you would make that product code selection to change the form to the item. And so the fields are going to change. You need to come down to the private name and hit this F8. And then go get the pad product. So let's see if we have some pad here from Shaw. Pad from Shaw, okay. Let's see what we have. I'm going to pretend for a minute that one of these is coming from Shaw. So you just select that. Again, the computer will fill in the entire left-hand side, and then you can put your quantity in there.
Can we stop?
Yeah.
So let's say that product right there, Glacier Deluxe, right? Let's pretend Shaw does make that, right?
Yep.
But I want to add that. I want to send that to Shaw. Can I change the supplier there where the Shaw?
So you see how it's grayed out?
Yeah.
You can't change something that's grayed out.
So if I can get the same product from 2 different vendors, I have to have it in both of their catalogs.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, so for example, like USG kits, shower kits, we can get it from Louisville Tile or Imser. Louisville Tile doesn't have any. We need some right now. If it was under a generic, like a stock vendor, I could
go through that specific.
Yeah.
Well, the pads it is a technically different name.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
Okay.
Just squashed my idea.
Oh, sorry. So then that's going to add that additional item to that same PO number, basically. Okay. So then, to create a different stock PO, you would just go back to the green plus and start over. And then the next one would be 023.
So the way this inventory system is, if we're going to stock, say, 60 rows of the rotted out purple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it best to order 60 lines of?
It depends. I mean, there's always 2 ways, or usually 2 ways to do everything. Uh, you could order it as a length of the grand total.
Right.
And then it just depends on how you want to receive it and see it in your system, when it comes in. Like you
Well, I
could,
mean,
you could,
how does RFMS manage it the best way?
it'll manage it either way. It's really up to your preference as to how you do it, honestly.
Well,
I'm going to show you receiving here in a minute.
I think this way will limit your shrinkage.
Well, the plus of doing it this way is you only let Shaw fill that order with 150-foot links, correct?
So we're going to talk about that here in a minute during receiving.
Okay.
Okay. So what I was saying is you can order a 12 by 1500, that's 10 rolls. And then when it comes in, you can either receive it as 12 by 1500 and then, just make your cuts as you go and let the warehouse guys decide where they're going to cut it. At the end of that order, you might have a bunch of roll ends left over out there.
Right.
Or you can do it roll by roll like this, receive it roll by roll, and then you can very effectively direct which roll gets cut for which job and how much.
Right. But my concern with doing it the other way is Shaw sending 100-foot rolls or 170-foot rolls or 149-foot rolls where they have to ship 150s.
Yeah. And really, I mean, they could really ship whatever they wanted in either case, honestly.
Honestly, we've had that experience.
And they probably do.
I know that's why Greenville is, but we don't order a mass quantity from Shaw.
Dreamweavers that way.
Like a lot of our apartment property management folks, they'll order in bulk quantities because they're spitting out 200-300 cuts a day, just burning through it, right? But if you're not property management, then kind of manage it roll by roll, I think is better.
They're gonna tally it up and they're gonna fill it with whatever they have sitting there.
See, when I manually order them now, I tell them I want 150s.
I'm sure if you tell them, they'd have to fill it.
Well, wouldn't that be?
Yeah, so we're going to actually
let's
talk about
19.
talk about receiving.
Fine, but if you group it all in one,
I'll answer those questions we talk about receiving here.
Okay.
Okay.
find the 150, they have to.
So we've gone through the purchase order process, and so now I'd like to shift into receiving.
Can you show us how, before you go to receiving, can you show us how the order acknowledgement comes in electronically? And what happens if it doesn't match? Or is that something else, some other?
Yeah, you'll have e-commerce purchase order training. But basically what will happen is these lines will turn a teal color whenever the confirmation comes back electronically. That's your visual indicator that the confirmation has come. And then you will open up, you'll double click on the line, and there'll actually be an additional piece of the window added to the right-hand side that will contain the e-commerce PO confirmation information. And it will show you what they have registered in their system, what's going to be shipping, when it's going to be coming. All those types of things will be shown in that additional piece of the window that will pop up.
Okay.
And then whenever you clear out of there, it'll ask you if you want to clear the flag, which will turn it back from the blue to the white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crawl.
So receiving, there are about 3 different ways to do receiving. So I'm going to start here with the receive from bill of lading. And so we go here to our file menu to receiving costing. And in this window, we have a option called receive from bill of lading. What this does is it says, okay, tell me the purchase order we're going to be receiving from. And so let's take, for example, some of that Imser material we've ordered. So I'm going to put my PO number in there. And if I know the PO, I can just type it in and hit enter. If I don't know, then I can go to the F8 and look up my list of open POs.
Can this also be scanned right there?
Yes, it can. So the PO, if you noticed earlier when we printed it, had a barcode on it.
Right.
Yep. But I'm going to show you there's actually a better way for utilizing that, and I'll show you that as the third method here. Okay. So this here we have let's say all four of these things came in on the same truck. So we've got them here, and now we need to tell the computer what's happening. So remember this batch icon we had when we did the PO. We're going to use that same icon here. What this is going to do is going to cycle us through these four lines so we can tell the computer what's going on. So if we want to capture the run lot, we can put the run lot here. Items are always going to require a lading number, and so that's going to be the number off of the shipper's paperwork. And so if they have one, that's great. We can type it in. If not, we can hit the F8 and the system will give us one, a bill of lading number. Right, then we have the date. We have the warehouse bin location if your locations are numbered. Then we're going to jump down to the quantity. We're going to verify the quantity received matches the quantity ordered. And then we're going to generate our inventory tag with this checkbox. And we're going to hit OK. If this is special order material, it's going to ask, are we ready to cut this from inventory? Which means, are we ready to print a picking ticket? And so if the answer is yes, we'll hit yes. If the answer is no, we'll hit no. And if we hit no, it'll leave it in reserved status on the job.
And do you recommend, Bruce? Do you recommend that one person? We were kind of thinking we would generate all the picking tickets at once to give to the person in charge of the picking.
The picking tickets should be done prior to staging. Well, must be done prior to staging, and we recommend staging like the day before install. So picking tickets are generally printed on the afternoon of the day before staging. So basically 2 days before install.
So you recommend not printing that picking ticket at the time of check-in?
Yeah, not until you're ready to send it to the warehouse to stage. Because the reason is it changes the line status. And you want to be able to look at those line statuses and know, what is going on and where that process is at.
Right.
So if it's cut too far ahead of time, you kind of lose that transparency of exactly what's going on.
So I won't handle POs, I'll handle pick tickets.
Right.
So can you just print a pick ticket so warehouse dude here can see one?
We'll come back to that. We need to finish the receiving process if we don't mind.
Awesome.
Okay. So here, this window popped up because we said to generate the item tag. This is asking how many tags would you like to print. So there are 7 boxes here, so it defaults to the number of boxes, right? So if you want a tag for each box, you'd leave that. If you want just one tag for the skid, you can change it. Then, if you'll notice, it put a little tag beside that line, and now it brings up our second line. Okay, so once again, we go through, we confirm our quantities, generate our tag, cut or deduct, we'll say no, so we can go do picking ticket here in a little bit, change our quantity, and it's just going to cycle through each of those lines until we accomplish all 4 lines here. So at this point, you've already done a physical verification on the material that came in.
So what do you do if it comes in 2 boxes short?
I'll get to that here on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to do one clean one, and then we'll do one that's not so clean.
Slow down.
All right, so we've got the 4 lines processed here. They're all 4 tagged. Once that happens, we'll hit the Done button up here. That's going to clear the screen and get us ready to receive the next batch, okay? So let me show you what's happened with that PO here. Okay, for some reason my search is not cooperating with me. Yeah, there's just a delay. There we go. So now we've processed those four. So the PO status shows satisfied. That's going to show us quantity received versus quantity ordered. And then on the order itself, over on the order entry side, you're going to see that those lines will now say reserved. So everything's connected. Everything you do is connected to other places in the system. All right, so let's talk about now receiving something that the quantity doesn't match. So we're going to go back to our receiving here. And let's pull that next PO in. That was done under a stock PO. So let's go search for it. I think it was number PO, number 21. Okay. So we're going to search for open POs. There we go. All right, so let's take this line here for these Cabos. So we're going to tag that. And now here, when we go to receiving, let's say this one, maybe the 647 didn't come in. Maybe it was some other quantity that came in, right? So we do have to have our lading number. We'd have our bin location there. But then here, we can change this quantity, and we can put, if it's more, we can put more. If it's less, we can put less. We can put anything we want to in that, and the system will react accordingly. So if you receive less than the PO, it will leave the PO open for the balance. If you receive more than the PO, then it will receive more than the PO.
What does it do with the excess inventory then?
So if you receive more than the PO, it's going to leave the excess in available inventory, and then you have to decide what to do with it. Am I going to allocate it to the job, or am I going to, let it stay in stock?
Okay.
Okay.
And so then if it's less, it doesn't satisfy that.
That's right. That's right.
We would just have to do the DNR and fall off and say,
so let's say this was a box short here. Should be 630.952. And it's going to give you a couple messages here as we do this. So it's going to tell you that the amount received is less than what you ordered. And it's also going to tell you a couple things. If this material is tied to a customer order, the box will say you cannot satisfy this PO because it is promised to a customer, basically. And it won't let you satisfy it. It'll keep it open for that extra box. In this case, this particular one is not tied to a customer order. And so it's given us the option here to satisfy the PO being a box short. Okay. So I'll say no on this one so we can leave it open. Get our tag there.
And then redo it.
And so here, we'll go look at that here in a second to show you kind of what happened there. So we've got ST00019. So here it's still open, even though we've received 630, we ordered 647, so that remaining box is still open on that PO.
So let's say the box comes in today.
Yep.
Or tomorrow. How do we do that?
Exactly the same way. You go back to the receiving, and you would just pull that PO in once again and receive that last box.
Okay.
Okay, so then it knows that the quantity here is only the one box.
Okay, cool.
So it keeps track of that for you. Forgot the lading number. And it'll remind you if you forget something that's required. And then done. And so now that one's satisfied. We look it up again, that's now satisfied. Even though we've received it in two things. Now what it does in inventory is it splits that automatically. So let's go look that up in inventory. So here, We've got the first receipt of the 630, and we've got the second receipt of the 16.6.
Can you combine those because they're the same die lot? Can you
You
put them
can.
together?
You can. After you cost it, we haven't gone through inventory costing yet, but after you get the invoice in and process that from the supplier, then you're able to consolidate. We call it inventory consolidation, and you're able to merge the two quantities together into a single line. All right, let's go do some more receiving. So we've looked at the receive from bill of lading, and that is probably the best way when you have multiple line items coming in from the same supplier. You may also have times where only one comes in. Okay, so let's look at, it's called the express receiving. So let's look at our open POs here. Let's say just this one thing comes in from all tile here. So we're going to use this letter E called express receiving on the highlighted line. This always is going to apply to the highlighted line. So it picks up that PO and line number and gives us the receiving window. Now this is pad, so we're not going to have a run lot. We'll have a lading number, maybe a bin location number. Let's say half of the order came in. Okay. So we would generate our tag. Again, it's going to alert us to the fact that we're receiving less than we ordered. Give it the option to satisfy the PO. Print the tag. And then so that PO now is half received. All right, let's say the next day the rest of it comes in, but maybe they ship 52 rolls instead of 50 rolls. So we go back and we just do it the same way. We have the next day, and let's say they shipped 52. Generate our tag. Right, so now that PO is satisfied at 102 versus 100. Okay. If we go look at the item inventory, you'd see a line that had 50 and a line that had 52, just like we saw with that tile. Okay. All right, now let's talk about receiving with a barcode on those purchase orders. So I'm going to print this PO here so we can get the barcodes. Make sure the barcode option box is checked there.
That's kind of confusing. Usually if there's 2 rolls extra, and I say, no, we didn't order that, because then it confuses in the billing. The person will come, hey, they're charging us for 102 rolls, and we're only supposed to have 100. That comes.
More times than not, the invoice is going to reflect what they shipped. So if they ship the 52, you're going to get invoiced for 52. And so you want that to match. That's why you want, when you're receiving, you want to put in the actual quantity, because 99% of the time, that's what the invoice is going to be for.
You received.
Right.
And what if it doesn't match the deal?
Doesn't matter as far as receiving is concerned. That's what's happening with the next step.
Yeah.
You get that invoice, that's the next step. Compare.
And go, I don't want that. Yeah. Come and get it. They'll drive over here and get those 2 rolls of pads.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as far as, because there's a process for getting that in and shipping it back. All right, so on this part of the receiving, we're going to use the barcodes here. So every PO line has a barcode that can print there. The barcode contains the purchase order number and the line number. So this 900001, line 1, is what the barcode is. Okay. So you can use those for receiving. And that is done here with the special receiving and warehouse receiving. This gives you a prompt to scan that barcode on that purchase order. So you'd have the purchase order in front of you, you'd have a barcode scanner in your hand, and the barcode scanner is going to fill this in. Okay, so the scanner is going to do that part. The scanner is also going to click the OK button for you. It's going to bring up this somewhat abbreviated window for the receiving, for you to fill in your run lot, bill of lading, bin location, quantity. generate tag, number of tags, and then to click OK.
That's so much faster.
And so then what happens is now it's ready for the next line. So let's say both of those came in. You can go ahead and just scan the next one. Oops, I got too many digits there. And then that's going to bring up the next one. And so this process is, designed to be very repetitive, very fluid, so that you can quickly go through and receive all those POs in just a few moments' time. And it'll keep asking you for the next barcode until you say cancel.
And Bruce, you may go over this at another time, but shouldn't we receive these bill of ladings? Isn't there an option to get these acknowledgments of what's being shipped today so we can have those POs ready?
Yeah, it's on the e-commerce where you've sent e-commerce purchase orders. You can also get they're called advanced ship notices from those suppliers. They'll come in on your email, and there's a screen in the e-commerce module. You'll go and enter those. You'll kind of preload, and what it really does is it preloads the receive from bill of lading function. So you pull your receive from bill of lading, and then at this point you scan the barcode off of that ASN, and that then helps you fill in this screen without searching for it.
Or if nothing else, you'll know what's coming today. You can go pull it. And when that truck backs up, you know what you're supposed to be getting. You can scan them in right there.
Let's talk about receiving rolls. And rolls can be received through any of those three methods we've looked at so far. So let's go back and let's receive a few of these rolls. We'll do receive from bill of lading, and that was ST00022. Now this one here, maybe all 20 rolls didn't come in. Maybe only 5 of them came in. So we would just tag the ones that actually did come in. We'd hit done. It's going to bring those 5 lines here just like it did earlier on the tile. We'll use the batch tag function once again. We'd put in our dial-out, because it's carpet. And then on these, you always want to come up and put in the mill roll number. And then your length. So let's say, we were talking about earlier, what if Shaw ships, 152 instead of 150, right? So you would just key in what they actually shipped and then generate the roll tag. You'd work your way through each of those.
Are those roll number and dial-out numbers mandatory fields?
They are not. The roll number is, the dial-out is not. The roll number, most of our users will use the mill assigned roll number. We have a few who will generate their own roll numbers. If you do nothing on that, it's going to pre-populate with the PO line number.
Can we make that mandatory? That's, I think, very important.
Well, so it's going to fill in with something. We can't force a person to change it, but if you were to not put anything in there, it stops you and it asks you, it says, hey, you haven't changed the roll number. Are you sure? So it makes you look at it. Like, let's do this one here, and it's going to stop me and it's going to ask me, roll number has not changed.
Bruce, but like
What's that?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that very important if we have a roll number when we're allocating stock?
It is, yes.
Pull this from this roll number because
yes.
It leaves us with a minimal shrinkage.
Right, and that's why it stops you and asks you. It says, hey, you haven't put in the roll number. Are you sure? So as part of training, it's hey, you've got to pay attention to what this is telling you.
But what if you had to allocate for multiple roll numbers?
Well, you can do that. You can allocate you can have a bunch of this from this from this.
Yeah.
Roll. That's how the warehouse makes it.
I'm not
And I'm not trying for 5 different roles.
right. Training.
And it may not make sense to cut for 5 different roles.
Well, it may make sense to go, I need this 100, and I need this 50, and I need this 10.
Yeah.
And if they're all from the same dialogue, you can do that.
If it'll keep everything even in the end, it'd be worth it.
I think Brace would have to put the roll number in. So let me ask, so is that receiving that one individual roll at a time, or are you bulk receiving all those rolls?
So if you notice, I have 5 lines on the screen, one for each roll.
Right.
And I've received one. Okay, as I receive each one, the next line pops up, and then I receive the next one. And so I don't actually complete the receiving process until I work through all these lines. They're all tagged, and I hit the done button. So
Cool.
we're at this point, we're really receiving a batch.
Okay.
Okay. On this one here, let's say it came in short. Say it came in at 148.5. So we'll put in our length. Once again, it's going to tell us we got in less than we ordered and gives us the option to satisfy it. Now on this one, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and satisfy it. You know, I'm not going to get that extra 1.5 feet. So yes, let's satisfy that. Okay.
But does it put it in inventory as the 148?
Yes, it puts it in inventory whenever you key into this length field here. Okay.
They might make it up. I see 152.
All right, so let's do this. Let's just receive those 2. So I'm just going to take out the ones I didn't receive. So we're going to receive these 2. We're going to hit done. And it's based on what's tagged. All right, now let's go look at them. So let's look at our PO screen here once again. So here we see where we received the overage. So 2.67 yards over, 2 square yards under. Okay. Now let's go look at them in inventory. So in our roll inventory screen, we're going to go in, and because I tagged them as I received them, I have this filter here to where I can see only tagged records. And that's going to show me those 2 rolls that I received. If I go over to the item screen, I can do the same thing. So that's everything that I've received so far. The tags need to be printed, okay? So let's go back to the rolls. Let's print the roll tags first. So once we're here, we can hit the printer. We're going to tag our stores. We're going to select the size tag that we want. Most people use the standard laser portrait for roll tags. You have a couple options here as to what prints on the tag and whether or not you want cost and selling prices on the tag and the date. So these are representation of the roll tags. The roll number is going to be the prominent piece of information, and then it has various other pieces of information that will print on that. These will print 2 per page with, and we sell the card stock that's perforated and that also has a cut record on the backside. And so got 1 page here for the 2 tags. Once you print those, you can have the option to print again or no. If you say no, it's going to clear your tags so that they won't reprint next time. And let's go to the items and print those tags. Same thing, printer. Choose your stores, choose your size. We'll do the landscape tag here and the date. And then this is going to print these side by side on a full sheet. Once again, it can use that same cardstock. And so the item number on these is going to be the prominent piece of information. And then you see we have 5 sheets, so that means there are up to 10 tags here. And then you can print those tags on demand. You know, let's say something got lost or whatever. You can always go in and pull up those inventory records again and just tag them on demand and print additional tags as needed. Okay, so best practice is to keep everything in your warehouse tagged. And as you're walking through, if you see tags missing, you know, make sure you reprint those tags so that it's easily identifiable. All right, so that is the basics, I guess you'd say, of purchasing and receiving. Okay, so you have some questions?
So right now, it's set up as for square yard, for carpet and sheet vinyl. Can that be
Yes.
changed to square foot?
It can. It can be changed on a user by user basis. And what it will do then is it will display for those users square foot quantities instead of square yard quantities. That is here in your system options. And the best way to find it is to search for the word square. And then this is a yes or a no for square foot calculations. And you can either change it to global and make everybody square foot, or you can pick and choose who sees square foot.
And it doesn't matter how it's set up in the system. So if the
Well,
carpet's set up,
here's what will happen. If you switch it to square feet, whether I go to products or order entry or inventory, I'll see it in square feet.
okay, so let's say let's say Jeremy wants to see it in square foot, and Keith wants to see it in square yard.
Right.
Can you show me how that looks?
Yep. So you said Keith is square foot?
That's fine.
So you just change Keith to yes, right?
Okay.
Then when Keith logs on, under Keith's username, at the bottom of the screen, it's going to say square feet, not square yards.
Okay.
And when Keith goes to look at a write it out here. When he goes to look at this, his unit of measure is going to say square feet.
Wow, that's cool.
Whether he looks in products or order entry or inventory, it's going to say square feet.
And how Keith builds that quote forever in the system will be in square feet, correct or no?
Right. Because what it'll do, at its root, these are in as square yard values. But if we change him to square feet, then it's going to take these costs and divide them by 9, and that's the way he's going to see it.
That's cool.
Sorry to create confusion with purchasing.
Might glance at it really quick and think square feet or square yards.
So it's all relative to the user, right? So
Yeah, but if Dean keeps it in square yards.
But it doesn't matter if it's generated square feet. The purchase order will be
So,
square
well,
feet.
no, I don't think that's, so I think if, let's say Keith wants to use square feet, so he generates the order in square feet, but if Dean, if his user is set up to use square yards, it's still going to show his in square yards.
that's right. It's basically a lens, right? So which lens am I looking at it through? The square yard lens or the square feet lens?
It doesn't affect what it actually, it's based on user.
So what would generate the invoice for the customer? Let's say that Keith creates the quote in square feet, Greg ends up job costing it and emailing the invoice to the customer, and he's in square yards, what will the customer get?
So it's per user. It's the lens per user. So it depends on who prints it.
Okay. So it's however you would be set up as with the customer. If you send the invoice.
Okay,
If you're set to square feet and you print it, it's going to be square feet. If I'm set square yards and I print it, it's going to be square yards.
we got some customers that want square feet, we got some customers that want square
I
yards,
don't think it.
as long as the bottom number matches.
All right, good enough.
Cool.
Okay. Okay.
That is a cool feature.
Hey, Bruce, for your visit
Yes.
here,
Yes.
do you have an itinerary of what we're going to cover each day? 'Cause I want to set up to make sure the right people are here at the right times for you.
Yes. So on that time, since that's going to be the first week on the system, we can either do like classroom scenarios, if there are people who have not been in these meetings that need to have classroom time on certain topics, we can set a schedule of classroom time. Or I can go and one-on-one work with each person, for a period of time each day. Either way is good. So it's kind of, we have to, between the two of us, we have to decide what that format is going to be and what's going to work best for you.
Okay. So maybe we need to set up an itinerary. Because I want our accounting people to be here for the accounting portion of it,
Yes.
reporting, that nature. We're spread out over 3 locations. That's why I want to make sure.
Right. Yeah. So it might be good to have like classroom and when I do a classroom for 3 days, I'll usually start out and do like 2 or 3 sessions for order entry. That way you can rotate people in. And then, we'll do sessions on purchasing and receiving. And then we'll do purchasing on accounts payable, accounts receivable. We'll do sessions on, the back end accounting stuff, the general ledger items. So if there are multiple people that need to come through, but still keep business running, we can do it that way.
Okay. We'll get that together.
Okay.
Really good to try to have as many people as we could in one location that we can put their laptop and everything. Yeah. While we're creating orders, while we're doing everything that way. Any questions, anything, any procedures? And Bruce, I do have one question that's kind of off of today's itinerary, but I'm about ready to start entering some of it in, and I was wondering if you could help me out with it.
Okay.
Was, doing the chart of accounts.
Yes.
What we have in there right now is pretty good, but we do have to add some stuff. And
Yes.
I was curious how to do that, but
Sure.
I kind of know how to do it. But the numbers that are linked up with that chart of accounts, what does this mean? Like 6,100 is advertising.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay.
Those are governed by these GL parameters. So this is the chart that gives you the number ranges for the account types.
Okay. So if I wanted to add something under, like, let's say cost of sales is one of them, like, right is under cost of sales at 53,000. Would I do 53,001?
Yeah. So any cost of sales can be anywhere between 5,000 and 59,999.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
does it automatically generate that number when he adds?
No, you key in those numbers. Those numbers are at your discretion.
Okay, so I figured that's the way that it worked, but I wanted to double check.
Sure. But if you enter one in between 50,000 and 59,999, it is going to label it as cost of sales.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's the only question that I had.
Okay. And then once you get that chart of account finalized, we will need to go in and verify that the standard account codes are mapped to the correct accounts.
Okay.
So if you change anything that's in these, we want to go back in and remap them.
Okay.
This is the roadmap the system uses for all its automatic postings.
Okay. But as long as I stay within the lines of what's kind of already in there, should we be okay with that?
Yeah, as long as you don't change any of the ones that are listed in this table.
Right, okay, perfect.
Yes, you got plenty of room.
Yeah, that's what they give us like 100 between each.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Oh, yeah, way plenty.
I don't have any questions. Do you, Sam?
The only concern would be on those tags. The side mark was the main important thing that people look at as far as even me, you say, like, for anybody to be able to walk out there and know what's what.
Yeah.
It was very tiny, Premier KH, you know what I'm saying, versus just a big ass number with that. You know what I'm saying? And if you're standing from here and there's 30 feet, you're trying to see what type of, what skid you should dig out. You gotta crawl all the way up there and be like,
Is there any way to make that side mark larger?
Yeah, we offer what's called a custom configuration option. Basically, I'll send you a form, and you would fill out the form. You would print off one of these tags and mark it up to the way you'd like to have it. And then there's a fee to custom program your tag file. Basically, it's based on there's like a flat fee to get it started. Then there's like an hourly rate, on top of that to get it programmed. And then they would send you that file. And then when you go to print tags, that custom tag would be one of your options in the dropdown.
what's the benefit of having that tag?
It has everything's in it. The PO number.
But as far as job packing, what's important on that? I'll have a big ticket. All I need those things done.
Because one day, we'll be scanning everything.
So
Scan your pick and scan that.
So you would scan,
Switch to stage.
when you put that out, would you put that on the truck, scan it, whatever. We know that we know that.
Everything has a status. So, like, when it's picked, or it's reserved, when you scan that, now staged, and then when they take it, you scan it, it's now delivered.
And so we know that David Z picked up that job pad.
Everything has changed that status all the way.
From the point of receiving, and I put it over there, and something comes off of it.
That's why he was saying you have to walk the warehouse from time to time and go, oh, that job pack's.
Well, I'm saying a piece of material comes off of it, it's rubber or something, and then let's say
Well, the goal is not to do that, but we know what happens.
It's gonna happen, and okay, I'm staging it in the system, yeah, everything's there, and I deliver everyone, he got everything. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you're gonna have to, yeah, we'll have to work through that, yeah.
I don't know, I understand the scanning, it's just gonna have retail. Sure.
It's gonna be learned. Question.
I think ultimately though, having those tags with the scanner, once everything's set up all night,
Everything uniform.
like,
Yeah. There'll be no material taken, it'll be beep done.
Yeah. Exactly.
as
And
far as
it'll-
like taking a little piece off of that, or pallet or whatever, Robin, God, which that's so. Might be the-
That's an internal workaround that we're gonna have to,
Make a note.
yeah.
Make sure it gets back. All right, Bruce, thank you very much.
Okay, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Good weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Monday morning.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds
Thanks.
good.
Bye.
The way we
Bye now.
regulate